All right, let's get right into it. We're talking about a 120-mile ditch, really, dug through a desert. A ditch that completely rewired global trade, sparked actual wars, and even today can bring the entire world economy to a screeching halt. This, right here, is the story of the Suez Canal. I'm sure you remember this. March 2021, the entire world was just glued to their screens, watching this giant container ship, the Ever Given, get completely wedged sideways across the canal. All of a sudden, this ancient waterway was headline news, creating a traffic jam you could see from space and, well, a total global supply chain nightmare.
And the cost of that little traffic jam? Get this. According to the International Chamber of Shipping, it held up an estimated $3 billion worth of stuff every single day. That number is just staggering, and it really drives home how incredibly vital this one passage is.
So that's the big question, right? How on earth did this one canal, carved through the desert, become such an absolutely indispensable artery for the global economy? To figure that out, we gotta go back, like way back.
You see, the idea of connecting the Mediterranean Sea to the Red Sea, it's not some new concept. Nope, it's an ancient dream, one that obsessed pharaohs, Persian kings, and European emperors for literally thousands of years.
I mean, the persistence of this idea is just incredible. Early pharaohs dug smaller canals to connect the Nile River to the Red Sea. Then, around 500 BCE, Darius the Great of Persia actually completed a working one. Even Napoleon was captivated by the idea, but his surveyors made this one crucial mistake. They calculated that the Red Sea was almost 30 feet higher than the Mediterranean. And that one little error, it shelved the whole project for decades, until a French diplomat named Ferdinand de Lesseps decided to revive the dream in the mid-1800s.
Just listen to this inscription from Darius the Great, from 2,500 years ago. The ambition was always exactly the same. Create a direct shortcut for trade and for power. A straight shot from Egypt to Persia, just like he wanted. So how did de Lesseps finally pull it off where so many others had failed? Well, he was a master of both diplomacy and sheer determination. He managed to get a 99-year lease from the ruler of Egypt. He formed the Suez Canal Company, fighting off intense political pressure from the British, who were terrified it would mess up their own trade routes. And then he began the absolutely monumental 10-year job of construction. It was an engineering marvel, and it all finished with a massive party in 1869.
But here's the thing. An asset this valuable doesn't just stay a cool engineering project for long. It quickly becomes a strategic prize. And the moment it opened, the Suez Canal became a flashpoint for international conflict.
And it didn't take long for the politics to kick in. Just 6 years after the canal opened, Egypt's ruler had to sell his country's 44% stake to pay off massive debts. And guess who swooped in? The British government. Just like that, the very nation that had fought against the canal's construction became its part owner and protector. It was a move that would end up shaping the entire region for the next 100 years.
Now, this tension just simmered for decades until it finally exploded in 1956. The Egyptian president, Gamal Abdel Nasser, in this huge act of defiance against colonial power, stood up and declared he was nationalizing the canal, basically seizing control from the British and French and putting it entirely in Egyptian hands. And that move, it triggered an immediate international crisis. And that crisis was really just the beginning. The 1956 Suez Crisis led to an invasion of Egypt by Britain, France, and Israel. The conflict only ended when the U.S. and the Soviet Union stepped in and forced them to back down. Then, after the Six-Day War in 1967, Egypt just shut the canal down completely. For 8 long years, it was a militarized border. And get this, a whole fleet of 15 cargo ships, they call it the Yellow Fleet, was trapped inside. They were just stuck there until 1975, when the canal was finally cleared of mines and reopened after the Yom Kippur War.
So after it finally reopened, the canal really cemented its role. Not as a battlefield anymore, but it's the world's most important economic artery, a true superhighway for global trade.
So why is it so important? Well, the numbers really tell the story. For any ship going between Asia and Europe, the Suez Canal can shave off more than a week of travel time compared to that long journey around the Cape of Good Hope in Africa. And in the shipping world, believe me, time is a whole lot of money.
The Suez route cuts off almost 9,000 kilometers from the trip. The only other real option, the Cape route, isn't just longer, it was also famous for piracy off the coast of Somalia for quite a while. So for most ships, the canal is just the faster, cheaper, and safer choice. It's a no-brainer.
And the sheer amount of traffic, it's just mind-boggling. On an average day, you've got more than 50 ships passing through. In 2021, that added up to over 20,000 ships for the year. Put it all together, and this one canal handles something like 8% of all global sea trade. It's a constant, flowing conveyor belt of the world's goods.
Okay, so what does the future hold? As trade keeps evolving and, frankly, the planet itself changes, the canal is facing a whole new set of challenges, and it's having to adapt all over again.
One potential new competitor is actually showing up because of climate change, the Northern Sea Route, right across the Arctic. For some trips between Asia and Europe, it's actually thousands of kilometers shorter. But there's always a catch, right? It's only really open during the summer months, and it often requires super expensive icebreaker ships. So for now, Suez is still the dominant player, even as it's trying to figure out how to handle these ever larger ships.
And that brings our story right back to where we started. That whole Ever Given mess was a massive wake-up call for everyone. In response, Egypt has started this huge project to widen and deepen the canal's southern part. Yep, the exact spot where the ship got stuck. The whole goal is to prevent another global traffic jam and make sure this vital artery keeps flowing nice and smoothly.
Which leaves us with one final thought. For more than 150 years, the Suez Canal has managed to adapt to bigger ships, to massive geopolitical shifts, to new economic realities. But as the world keeps changing faster than ever, the great challenge is whether this incredible feat of engineering can continue to be the shortcut that connects us all.